Oh, Tom. It's Tom.
Hello.
And I like how the name changed from Tom to Bagel. You're using Zoom for different things, aren't you?
Yeah. Also, I can't figure out how to change the default name on here. So
Hello.
every time I come on.
Hello, Tom Donahue.
Hello, Miss Emma.
Hello, darling. How's
So-
how's your relationship, sweetie, on this wonderful Valentine's Day?
It is wonderful.
Oh,
And
God.
can I
Yeah.
need to brag and show the gift that I got?
Oh, super cute.
Oh, good Lord.
All you need is love.
Oh
And
my
love
God.
is all you need.
That warms my
Love is-
cockles.
Love is all you need.
So Bagel, it'll just be the four of us. You know John, right?
Hi,
I
Bagel.
don't know if we've met. Hello,
We've
have we
met.
met?
I was on the podcast
Okay.
a couple times already. Sorry,
Welcome
I'm listening.
So just to give you a rundown, because it's Valentine's Day, I'm going to ask everyone what their perfect match is for bikes. Everyone has their perfect partner in mind. Describe your perfect bike or scooter in mind. Like what color?
How-
You know how like when you're thinking about a lady, you're like, well, I want 5'10", half Japanese, green eyes. Like, you know how you can like list off all these things that you want, like you're perfect. I think we have a perfect bike, right?
I already have like the perfect bike.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. And then we will just get in a little bit to what we did today. We'll talk about if the KLR is truly unkillable or not, which will relate to something that happened today.
The cockroach of motorcycling.
Emma, and we got Josh with the DRZ, and then Emma, we'll let you do your Vincent history hole. I won't do Rolly because, as you said, it was a different bike. I think the Vincent would be enough. And then if we have time, I will ask you, Emma, about why they cost that much.
Okay.
Why things cost what they do. So I think we're ready to go. Okay. Hey there, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits. Coming to you from the Recycle Garage in sunny Santa Cruz, California. Hey everyone, how are you doing? This is Liza, and I had a fabulous weekend. There you go. Let's get to who is here, because today is Valentine's Day, which means we have misfits who are out pursuing other hobbies, we'll just call it right now, and
Other pursuits.
other pursuits, and couldn't be on the show. But that's okay, because we have enough misfits abound to always put on a show. So let's get to, looking so good and showing full breastage tonight. It's Miss Emma.
Hello, darlings. It's Valentine's Day, and I want to let everyone know I'm sending you all a virtual Valentine's card because I love you all.
Aw,
Oh, yes, you
Yeah, it's very
do.
nice.
we love you too, Miss Emma.
Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. You know, I was buying coffee at the local 7-Eleven today, and the person behind the counter said, I would ask you out on a date based solely on how good your eyebrows are.
Ooh.
High praise indeed.
Mhm.
I knew exactly what to say to you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very proud of my eyebrows.
Whereas when you show up the garage, I usually say something. Oh, hey Emma, you got a booger hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. You've got a nose goblin.
But what's a better friend? The one who tells you what you want to hear, or the one who tells you what you need to hear?
I like to have my nose goblins pointed out. Thank you.
Oh, and coming here, spreading the love on Valentine's Day, because all you need is love. It's Bagel.
Love is all you need. Greetings from Oregon.
Oh my god.
Bagler, how's the weather in Oregon land?
Where I am, it is actually not too bad. It's just been wet and semi-cold.
We're just now just you just back up there, Mister.
Yes.
Define not too bad.
Okay, we did not get the ice apocalypse that Northern Oregon and Washington got.
Okay.
So I am very thankful for that. We seem to be on the wet and warmer side of this weather system, and it looks like we're not going to get the snow and the ice that they have in farther parts north. So
Yeah, but you look like you're wearing quite thick clothing, darling.
oh, just a thin sweatshirt. I've actually got a heater. I've got a heater in my shop now, which is getting it up to almost 60 degrees. So
Ooh, blimey!
yeah.
Well, you know, we went riding yesterday. It was in the 50s. So, of course, I had my heated grips on.
Mm-hmm. Like you do.
Like you do. And hey, because I said we have so many misfits out, but that's okay because we have stunt misfit John filling in for all of them. Hey, John, how you doing?
What's up? Happy VD, everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, so great to be here. Welcome from the Redwood Empire up here in the redwoods of Santa Cruz, above town.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You know, I just got a glimpse, John. It's gone dark now, but when you first logged in, you know, there was the just the twilight against all the trees in your backyard.
Yeah.
It looks like a very nice neck of the woods, darling. Where are you?
Oh, it's beautiful. Up in Boulder Creek.
Oh, okay. So you're way up at the top.
Yeah. Yep. So we're blessed to be here. We got redwoods in our front yard and a creek in our backyard.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Good-o.
Nice. So we had a lot going on this weekend, which we'll get to. But first, I want to get to this. So, you know, I think everybody has an idea of the perfect partner for them. You know, you've built this over the years. You have this idea, like exactly how tall, what color hair, eyes, what kind of features, personality, the perfect mate for you.
Oh, Jack, why couldn't you swim, darling?
And I think that same thing exists for motorcycles. So I wanted to talk about what's the perfect motorcycle or scooter for you, like in your mind, like what color, how many gears, like, and I'll start because I was actually thinking, because this weekend, John and I went for a ride and I pulled out the 990 SMT and I was just thinking, yeah, you know, I really like this bike. I don't use it as much as I should because I'm usually going to ride dirt or, you know, adventure or something. But when I sit on that bike, it fits me. It just fits me. And I don't know if you guys do this thing when you get on a bike where you close your eyes and you put your hands out where they just want to be and the bars are right there. You know, I do that on other bikes when you're trying to figure out what kind of bars to put on. Close your eyes, put your hands out where they feel like they want to be. And the SMT, the bars are right there. And it also, I think, like a good partner, it's got a big enough engine and it's a twitchy bike that it gives me a healthy bit of respect for it. You know, I don't take it for granted. I have some respect for it and it will kick me in the butt if I'm not careful, which I think is a good sign. It's a good sign in a good partner.
Yeah, and he speaks with Austrian accent.
In my mind, you know, the Africa Twin has the gold wheels, and I'm just a sucker for gold wheels. I think any bike with gold wheels is
your bike's got gold pumps on.
Well, so does my scooter. Just gold wheels are beautiful. And like, oh, what color? You know what? I have to say, picking a color is hard. There's all these traditional colors, but even as we've been going around looking at bikes lately, and a lot of the new bikes have non-standard colors. You're seeing aquas and flat gray with orange. And
I'm going to stop you there, darling.
Yeah,
it's aqua. It's aqua, darling. It's aqua.
What is the perfect color for me? Magenta,
sweetie.
Okay, gold frames. Gold wheels, a frame that is colored. I love a frame that is colored, not black, but a frame that has color that pops out. So it could be white, it could be gold, it could be
Red.
orange, you know, like
Yeah.
if it's a KTM, orange, you know, with black and orange and white or anything. But I just love a frame that pops out, especially if it's like a trellis frame or something.
Right.
And I think the around the 1,000cc is like a perfect bike for me. But I want to hear from you guys. What's your?
Are your pupils dilating now, Liza? You're very,
I know,
You're
right?
in a very happy place, aren't you,
It
darling?
is.
Yeah.
Emma, I want to hear from you. What's
Well-
like the perfect bike? What are the details?
You know, when I look back at my motorcycling career, my abiding love has always been older British bikes, just always. And they're always male. They're always, they're very, very masculine looking bikes. They're very masculine sounding bikes. And I'm just so at home on them. I mean, it is a perfect relationship. You talk about when you sit on a bike and everything just is there. I mean, as they say in the magazines, the old cliche, it falls easily to hand. And I mean, that's absolutely true. If I'm sitting, say, on my Trident is a perfect example. It's the right height for me. I just reach out my arms. It's like the riding position is like I'm sitting in an armchair. My arms are in that position. It's just perfect. But I have a lover. And I'm kind of ashamed, but I'm kind of not ashamed. And I very much have a relationship with my British boyfriends. But I've got a lover, and she's Japanese, and she's middle-aged, and she's still very, very athletic, but she wears far too much purple and yellow makeup.
Is she friends with Shaka Khan?
Well, she has got something in common with Shaka Khan, and Sir Mix-a-Lot actually wrote a song about her. And,
got back.
it's a forbidden relationship because, she was born halfway around the world, and she's a girl and I'm a girl, but how can I put it properly? It's one bike I'm not going to get rid of, ever. Ever. I love that thing. And she's my lovely RF 900. And she doesn't even mind when I call her Rufus either.
So the colors are your dream colors?
I've always had a very, very soft spot for 90s Japanese sport bikes because they just came in these batshit crazy paint schemes.
Which matches you.
Right, exactly. Because if you actually meet me in person, I always say that I'm kind of like the Mission in San Francisco. I'm bright, I'm loud, I'm rude, I'm in your face. I'm very welcoming and embracing, but
sometimes you ask people for money.
Yes, exactly. Just like in the Mission. And that era of sport bikes really suits me just fine. And, purple and yellow, the only more batshit crazy paint job than that is the bright pink and silver with the pink wheels. But
I was going to say aqua and orange.
Aqua and orange, darling.
Yikes.
But, I just like the idea of having a very, very essentially a very simple carburetted 130 horsepower sport bike. And yes, she's a little bit porky, and yes, she's got a giant butt. But that bike can still kick ass, as you know, Liza. It cruises back from Los Angeles quite happily alongside you at 100 plus miles an hour and doesn't murmur. So what more could you possibly want?
Nice.
There you go. She's my perfect Valentine.
Exactly. So how about you, Bagel? Describe the perfect, I assume it's a scooter, not a bike.
Yeah, it would definitely be a scooter.
Okay.
I don't think that such a scooter exists,
Oh,
but
it's here.
this would be my dream scooter. Okay, so it would be
Yes.
something along the lines of a Vespa GTS, like I have behind me here.
So it's 300 or 250?
Neither. It would be all electric,
Oh.
and it would be capable of freeway speeds.
Oh.
Hmm.
And it would have a range of at least 100 miles, but preferably 150 because I like to ride.
Oh.
Or more, if that's even possible.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to have a little bit more room on the footboards to just move your feet back,
Mm-hmm.
because the GTS is a little crowded there. You can't move your feet back and kind of angle your knees in.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I kind of miss on that bike. As far as color goes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty open. I mean, I like the white of my GTS back there, but I dig blue scooters. Orange is a great scooter color, as is yellow. I'd even go for like one of those cappuccino colored bikes that's like the gold and the metallic brown. Those. I think that's a good color.
Can I amend mine? Sparkly paint.
Ah, yes.
Sparkly. Yes.
Yep.
Barkley.
And yeah, but that would basically be my dream bike.
What
so
color
if you're
seat?
listening,
What color seat? Yes.
that would really depend on the color of the bike. I tend to go for just the black seat just because that's just easy, but it does get hot in the summer. So, and I did put a silver seat on my Cannonball bike, but that was to go along with the silver.
Go for the
light blue and
brown.
dark
Go for the
blue.
brown leather, Bagel. Come on.
No, I'm not.
Brown leather. Oh my
I
God.
love brown
It
leather.
wouldn't. It would not be leather because
Come on.
I ride in all sorts of shit. So I don't want a leather seat that's going to get ruined if I get caught in the rain. It's going to have to be vinyl because I'm practical. Leave the leather for the show bikes. I want a bike I can ride and not have to worry about it.
Just to get the finest detail on your valve stem caps. What are you going to have on your valve stem caps?
I just go with the well, actually what I
little die, some dice.
No, what I prefer is the valve stem caps with the valve core tool inside of them.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Because I'm a practical person.
You're a practical person.
Yep.
All right. So John,
Yeah.
how about you?
So I was thinking about this. I got my first love, and I got my teenage love, and then I got my current love. So my first love, much like Miss Emma, was Triumph Bonneville Twins. Like my first I had a '77 Bonneville Triumph twin that I loved, and I got rid of it. That's a sad story of my life. I get rid of bikes. My teenage love was I had an RD 400 that I just adored because it's just a power band and this, it just would take out big leader bikes back in the day during in the 80s. But I think my current love, I love V twins, or I love twins actually. I love torquey twins that just make power all the way through the revs. As Liza says, I have stubby legs, so I got to be able to reach the ground at some point.
Tragically thick legs. That's what I say.
Oh my God, that's not nice.
So
It is when you're trying to find boots and clothes to fit you. And
exactly.
It is. It's I understand.
Hey, motorcycle manufacturers, there are fat, stubby people out there that ride bikes. So if you're listening,
Exactly.
yeah, and so preferably a twin, something very torquey, something I can reach the ground on, and something that has some versatility to it. So it's almost like what my current bike is, my Tiger, minus a cylinder.
Maybe you should be riding a Honda Fury instead. Do you know what that is?
Maybe I should. No, I'm not sure I know what that is.
We saw some yesterday, remember? It's the 10 years too late Honda factory chopper.
Oh, no, that's not my vibe. But I do love that chrome tank Royal Enfield we saw. So I'm a sucker for the chrome tank, with the
Chrome
offset
tank. Oh,
my God.
you're right. I want
Yeah.
a chrome tank too, man. Can I?
Yep.
Can you have a chrome tank and gold anodized wheels though? Is that too much?
You absolutely can. You can do whatever you want.
Yes.
So.
And a racing stripe. Oh, chrome tank with a racing stripe
Or a checkered stripe.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my
Old
God.
schooler.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody has that perfect bike. You know, I've been talking about it would be really cool to make a dating website app, but for motorcycles. So like you put in all your measurements and all your wants and all your functions, and then it will match you and you can swipe left or right for all the different models of bikes.
You don't have to be lonely at bikersonly.com.
Hey, you know, have you thought about pitching that idea to Austin over at Twisted Road? You know, and turn his app into like a Tinder for bikes kind of thing.
Well, you know what that makes Austin? Makes him a pimp.
Right?
We'll have to buy him a hat.
Pimp my ride.
Yeah.
Pimp my
So, as I said, John and I had a nice ride yesterday. We were supposed to go play in the dirt a little bit, but it rained. And I just didn't want to go get all muddy or go to any of the non-legal dirt places and create a mess. That's kind of the thing. If you're going to go to these, like, not really supposed to be there, don't mess it all up. That's kind of the rule, my rule. So we decided to I said, let's go hit some dealerships. Let's go look at bikes, sit on bikes. And we went to a few. We went and sat on Indians and Hondas and Kawasaki's. So yeah, I mean, we went to Hollister.
Yep.
Power Sports.
Indian dealer and
Everything else.
just about everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. And cruised by Corbin. And then
How is Mike?
he's not there on Saturdays. And actually we got there just after they closed.
Oh, okay.
And then we went over to Gilroy Power Sports there, who has KTM, Husqvarna, Royal Enfield.
You know,
and everything else.
that's such a good shop. And Pete, who is the service manager over there, is a very dear friend of mine. A man of very high integrity, and that is rare in this industry.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
yeah, and like a lot of people, Pete's getting ready to retire, but you know, he's like, what am I going to do? I can't find anybody who I like, so I'm going to stay here. And a lot of people in the industry are kind of like that, you know. They want to continue the legacy of the shop by finding somebody suitable, but I can't find anyone suitable. So what are you going to do? But Pete's a good guy.
Then we ended with stopping in at We All Ride, which is a local shop in town. It's not really a dealership. It's kind of where you go get parts and gear, but they've been bringing in some imported bikes. So Bagel, they actually have a bunch of the Buddy scooters there. They're selling.
Oh, nice.
Got a bunch of those. But the reason I took John there is I was telling him about SWM motorcycles that we learned about from Mikey 3 Times, who bought the SWM 500. For those who don't remember, SWM was a defunct off-roader. Was it Trials? I think it was a Trials bike.
No, they were enduro.
It was Enduro. Okay.
Yeah,
but it was Enduro off-road long time ago. Long gone. Somebody bought the
70s,
name. Yeah, somebody bought the name. And then when KTM bought Husqvarna and they canceled a bunch of models of bikes, they bought all the molds and tooling and are now making those under the SW name, but they're really Husqvarnas, right?
Yeah.
And, but quite a bit more affordable. And so they had the new adventure bike there, SWM. I forget what the model is, but it's adventure bike. And I think the suggested retail was it like $9,000? I think.
Right.
Yeah, it was just under 10. Yep.
Yeah, for like a 600 cc.
Thought it was 650, but I could.
It might have been 650, like fully loaded ABS and all that.
No, I was impressed because they had all the bits. They had the Farkles on it already too. They had a decent skid plate and and they had crash bars and a lot of stuff that we all have to put on aftermarket.
Yeah. And make no mistake, they're a little rough and ready, but I tell you what, for bang for the buck, you cannot beat it. You absolutely can't beat it.
John asked the all-important question of, but where can I get it, serviced? And he said that there's, I think they say like 8 dealers in California right now.
He did. And there's
growing.
like 4 in Northern California. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was the first in California. So it's really new, but it's a name to look for in, but I'm going to say budget bikes, but they're Italian Husqvarnas. So SWM, they got some cool stuff. So check that out.
And, I'm going to be getting some of the workshop manuals and service literature. So just down the road, even if Rich over at Wheel Ride can't service it, or you're in Monterey, you'll be able to drop into my place and I'll keep it on the road. So there you go.
Yeah, so it's fun going and visiting. I'd say the one disappointment for me on the trip was that one of the things I love about going to dealers is, and I told John ahead of time, like, don't let me buy a bike. I don't need a bike. However, I am allowed to buy as many gloves or socks. That's where I'm like,
KTM socks.
I was wearing KTM socks that day. But that's where I'm like, go crazy. Gloves and socks. I don't have no rules about that. Yet dealers, shops don't carry that stuff anymore. There was barely a selection at every place we went.
Yep.
Because yes, people are buying stuff online, but I also see that it's like this circular thing where like, well, we're not going to keep it because you're buying online. So now it's not there for you to buy. So you're going to have to go online. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, in the dealership's defense, I mean, you can throw the one thing that you can throw the most money at is clothing. You can spend tens of thousands on a rudimentary display. So let's take gloves for an example. Gloves come in 6 sizes from extra small through 2XL. And you're going to want 2 of each. So right now you're into 12 gloves just for one model.
Yeah.
Each glove is $50. So you've just spent $600 on one model of glove. Now that's not a display. You want at least 6 or 7 models. So you've just spent $4,000 on a very small display of gloves. Now you get into the helmets. Now you get into the socks. You can spend a fortune just based on sizes.
I know. And Phil at Cleveland Moto has talked about getting out of it. Yet when I was at Phil's shop, I was like, oh, let me look at all the stuff. And I came home with a jacket that I didn't really need, but I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm just one of those people who loves to go to shops and see stuff. So it's just disappointing that you really can't do that. But I understand because I'm part of the problem because I buy all my stuff online. So I get it. But
you almost came home with an Indian.
I did.
Not a person.
I did. I said, don't let me buy a bike.
It was close.
But there is a bike I'm probably going to get in the near future.
What, Chieftain?
And no.
Because I know you've got some history with India.
Are you going for the flat tracker?
Sort of.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sort of. So the first clue what bike it is, they retail I think around $700.
Oh, the electric.
Well, no. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Emma, have you seen these? It's the kids FTR electric mini bike.
Yes. Oh God, aren't they fantastic?
God, they had some there.
Yeah.
I've seen them online. I almost bought one online.
Yeah, I think if you could have strapped it to the back of your bike, you would have walked out with it.
You know what? I know. They do look cool. I mean, I'm like, I already got an electric mini bike at the shop.
But you need another one so someone can race them.
Oh no. You know what almost got me? It has nice spoked wheels and real like
were they
real
gold
wheels? No, they weren't gold.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
I'm probably gonna get one eventually.
Well, you
Even
should.
if I hang it on the wall, I just think it's so cool. I just wish I had a
Yeah.
kid to buy it for. But yeah, that was fun. John, what did you see on our travels? Anything that you saw?
I haven't really looked at the Royal Enfields up close. So it was really good to see them, and I'm impressed. Although I have a slight issue with the side covers, but they're just they're coming together really nice. I'm super impressed by them for the most part. And of course, I love the Husqvarnas and some of the dual sport stuff we saw yesterday.
I'll tell you what I liked about the Royal Enfield. Emma, I was actually really impressed to see, because I was looking at this and going, why aren't the hipsters all over these Royal Enfields? It's the right price margin. It's got that retro thing. And then I saw the thing. I realized, they are going for it. They had a whole case there of accessories to go with Royal Enfields, like a leather satchel and a mug and pins and like all the things.
You just hold on there. Are you stereotyping hipsters?
Oh, no, I'm saying it was really cool. All the things that they had. Yeah. You can obviously see they were catering to the hipsters, and they have all these accessorized accoutrements.
Yes.
And they were quality stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I like the way they were put together, and it just had a good style factor of all the.
It was
almost bought shirts,
style.
Yeah. Well,
and even the shirts. I almost bought one of the shirts.
Royal Enfield is in an interesting position. It's kind of a lot of ways in the same boat as Harley. It's a very nostalgic feeling bike. Now you say, John, well, hang on, Triumph's got some nostalgic models. And it does, but it's also got some very, very modern ones as well. Whereas the entire range of Enfields, and to a certain extent the entire range of Harley Davidson, with the exception of the Livewire, they're kind of nostalgic. They're kind of looking back with rose-tinted spectacles. And that's a marketable thing. Nostalgia's big business. And so by doing these accessories and by doing them with old school quality out of good materials and good leather, very smart in my book. Royal Enfield's come a long, long way. If you'd have bought a Royal Enfield 20 years ago, you'd have been a little disappointed with the fit and finish, especially if you'd been brought up on a diet of Japanese bikes, because nobody bolts together a bike like the Japanese manufacturers. Nobody. But they've gotten so good, particularly in the last 5 or 6 years. They have really been working on quality control. And they've kept all the nice old world things that we know and love with Royal Enfields, like handline gas tanks and, proper red lead undercoating on the frame and stuff like that. But they've actually brought the rest of the quality up. So I think it's a real alternative now. And the twins are absolutely good.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the 650s were incredible.
They're wonderful.
And I like the Himalayan too. It's a little fugly, but I like it a lot.
I'm sorry, Bagel.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the Himalayan, the cockpit on the Himalayan looks like it belongs in a Sopwith camel. It's wonderful.
No, I'm glad to hear that their quality control has gotten better. But what concerns me more is, has their metallurgy gotten better? Because that's one of the things that I heard was one of the Achilles heels on the Royal Enfields.
Well, what I've heard about Royal Enfields is the R&D department is quite dynamic, and they've been listening very, very carefully to the dealer feedback from the customers, which is really how it should work. A lot of manufacturers will say, well, this is the product, and that's what you're getting. Whereas Royal Enfield is very flexible and responsive to the market. And yes, the metallurgy complaints have been coming in. And as far as I'm aware, Royal Enfield have been working very, very hard to mitigate that. And there's always going to be some exceptions to the rule. You know, I've heard the Himalayan is an example. Some of the early models did have some problems based on poor choice of materials. But as far as I'm aware, the 2020 and 2021 models are very, very good indeed. And
It's good to hear.
the thing is about Enfields, I was trying to think how to describe them. They're very charming bikes to ride. It's a very, very easy bike to fall in love with. They're very easy to ride. They're absolutely bursting with character. And it's a very, very nice place to be. And they've worked very hard to make it so.
Oh, I thought it was cool. And the other bike that surprised me that I saw there, that I'm not sure why it exists, I'll just say. You know, I love KTMs and their adventures and their Dukes are really cool. But there was a bike that we saw there, and it was the Duke 200.
What?
Now, yeah, the Duke 200.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was a couple of them there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, I know about the Duke 390, and really for KTM, the 390 is their, I'm not going to say beginner bike, but introductory bike, small bike.
Small bike.
It's used for racing. It's also used as an introductory bike that somebody may then move up to, but it still is quite a capable bike. And even, you know, experienced riders will buy one if they want something small and nimble for doing tight turns, stuff like that. So I mean, and the price point in the 390 is pretty good. So the Duke 200 here in the US, I'm not sure what
Well,
its purpose
hang
is.
on.
It's a retail price is $4,000.
Oh, wow.
Well, compared to how much for the 390?
I didn't price that one out. I can look that up.
That's probably at least $6,000 or $7,000, right?
I mean,
Because that sounds like they're trying to put out a true beginner bike, because a 200, you know, that's a great bike for anybody to start riding on.
right.
So
And I'll bet you-
5,500.
Okay, and I'll bet you anything that bike is a 125 in Europe, and they bumped it
Yes.
up to a 200 for the US
Oh, yeah.
market.
Yeah, I'm
And
just wondering.
so it is with the Suzuki DR200.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's forgotten about the DR200,
Yeah.
but Suzuki sold a lot of them.
Yeah, but that's being used in dirt.
No.
Right.
I know
no.
it's a dual sport, but
It's a dual sport bike. The
Yeah, but
majority of DR200s never saw dirt in their life.
Mm.
They're just
Well-
a capable little street bike. So, you know, there's kind of method to
I'm
it.
wondering if this is KTM's response to all of the Honda 125s.
Could be,
Yeah.
and
It was
because
pretty,
they
it was
know.
pretty tall though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that they probably know that the U.S. market is a little iffy on 125s. Like they're great for a novelty, like the
Yeah.
monkey bike and the Cub that they
Well,
brought back.
Shut your
But-
mouth. The Grom is
Well, the Grom,
everywhere.
Right. But it's still a novelty bike. It's not a bike that people are seriously riding for the most part for like heavy commuter purposes.
They travel in packs.
Well, yes, I know, but that's the novelty though.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
I'm saying is, like, somebody's not going to buy a Grom for a commuter bike for the most part, but this 200, a beginner definitely could pick that up and use that as an everyday all-purpose bike to ride, whatever they need to do.
Yeah, I
And
thought
it's a
that was
low
interesting.
price
I just-
point.
I don't know. I think they may have missed the market a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not privy to the same information that KTM have got, but what I would do is I would find the manufacturer that put together the TNT 125 Benelli, get them to
Right.
make them for me, paint them orange, put KTM on it, and then there's your Grom
Yeah.
killer.
Right. What are the specs on this bike? Like top speed and stuff? Do you have
I'm
that?
not prepared to answer. Hold on.
Oh.
I don't know.
Because this is interesting.
Let's see. The KTM.
Are you considering a motorbike, Bagel?
No, not exactly. But I like the idea that they are actually marketing and developing bikes that are in the scooter engine size
Right.
range.
They're
You
calling
know,
it the
that's-
Baby Duke.
There you go. That works.
Baby Duke. 3.5 gallon tank.
Oh, there's a song that goes with that. Baby Duke. Do, 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 do.
But 3.5 gallons on a 200.
And it's a
That's-
6-speed.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, lots of
Wow.
gears.
That actually, that sounds like, a pretty impressive bike for a small engine size, because 3.5 gallons on the 200cc, you could probably do 400 miles on that.
I think
Hey,
I
go-
found out. I think I found out what this is about.
Okay.
Bagel's considering an extramarital affair with a motorbike. Your scooters are going to be broken-hearted, darling.
Maybe a test ride.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know where that leads.
I just found a whole information on it from an Indian, in India.
Yeah.
I think this is made for the Indian market,
Oh.
and that maybe they just So I think it's made for the Indian market. And
It's
they
a
brought 'em
huge
here.
market.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
I think that there's potential for that in the U.S. for, as a true beginner bike for people who like the KTM lineup. If that can, and the 200 should be able to do freeway speeds, I would think. So, even though it won't, be able to keep up with, the big bikes, I think that's a really good position to be in a U.S. market where people are, seem to be gravitating towards smaller bikes.
Yeah. I just found it interesting.
And if it's got a low seat height, that's an even bigger selling point, because then people who are shorter in stature would have less of a problem riding it too.
31.9 inches seat height.
It's a little high.
So,
But
Emma, just as we were going around and looking at all these different bikes,
Yes.
another bike there that's it's on my radar. I may own one day bike, and that is the Honda CRF 450L.
Oh, that's a lovely bike, if you can afford it.
Yeah. So here's my question, and this is
that's
something I was trying to figure out. So, the CRF 250 was just replaced by the 300. So they have
Yes.
the CRF 300L.
Yes,
You can get the CRF 450
yes,
RL, and then they still have the old XR 650L.
Yes.
Right. So I just priced out some of them because I'm trying to understand how pricing works. So on the CRF 300L, the rally version, which is a little more, that's like what Jim has, that retails for $6K. If you want the CRF 450 RL, it's $10K. And my question is, for another 150 cc's, $4,000? What's the $4,000 for?
Well, what you're basically buying is a competition bike, which is capable of winning competitions with lights on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're paying for. Performance costs money. Now, that's only half of it, because the buy-in is heavy enough, but the maintenance schedule on that bike is wild. And, you're talking engine teardown every 10,000 miles. I mean, it's nuts, because it's a
Jeez.
competition bike.
Really?
But to be able to put one of those on the street and experience that on the street, that's what you're paying money for. Now, if we go back to the venerable XR650L,
which, by the way, has a retail price of $7,000. So the 300L is $6,000, the 650L is $7,000.
right? And what you're basically buying there is a 35-year-old bike, a brand new 35-year-old bike that's had even less development than the KLR 650. The KLR 650 has been upgraded over the years. The XR 650L is unchanged. It's absolutely unchanged throughout its production run, except for graphics, of course.
And the longer you run something, then the cost goes down each year, because you have to factor in the tooling and
right
and everything. So I get it. But I find that there's a disparity because you get a lot of bikes. You can go up. You can look at we were talking about the Duke 390, the Duke 690, 990. It keeps going up, right?
Right.
Same with you got the Versus 650 and the Versus 1000. Versus 650 is what, like $7,000, and the Versus 1000 was it like 12 grand or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 or 13.
It's
Yeah.
like
Well,
once again, I'm
basic
like,
one. That's the basic
whoa,
one.
why does it go up so much more just for a little bit bigger engine?
Well, you've got to compare apples with apples here.
Okay.
See, let's have a look at the Versys 650 for a start. You've got a 650 twin cylinder engine, which is about 70 horsepower. It's a pretty basic platform. You can bolt a lot of stuff to it, but it's a pretty basic platform, and it's been around for a long, long time. Now, the Versys 1000, for a start, you've grown a couple of cylinders. It's a 4-cylinder bike. It's not like the V-Strom 650 and the 1050, which are both V-twins. The Versys 1000 is a 4-cylinder bike. It's based on an Enger engine. And Kawasaki, to a certain extent, regard it as a flagship bike. It's up there with the ZX14 and the Concourse. I mean, it's considered a high-end aspirational bike. And that 13,000 Versys 1000 is the entry-level model. You can get the kitchen sink model, which has got everything on it, which is 20 grand. So, Kawasaki are approaching it differently. They approach the Versys 650 really as a blank canvas that you can do what you want to it.
Oh, whoa. The Versys 1000 is list price $18,000.
Well, that's the posh one.
And the 650 is like $82.99.
Right.
So that's a huge leap.
But look at the difference in specs.
And that is the LT. That's the touring. So the luggage and all the stuff.
The luggage and the cornering lights and the gyro and the ABS and the traction control and the modes. And it's an absolute kitchen sink model. Everything Kawasaki know about electronic stability control and traction is on that bike.
So you're saying it's always worth it because it's all in the components that you're getting. It's in the...
If you want
the gadgets.
I'm going to stick my neck out here. I think Kawasaki make money on every Versys 650 they sell. I think Kawasaki probably lose money on every Versys 1000 LT they sell.
In terms of recouping their R&D costs and everything?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because, developing a sophisticated motorbike like that ain't cheap.
No.
And then selling an $18,000 motorbike, because believe me, by the time you've paid freight, by the time you've paid PDI and tax and everything, you're writing a check for 20 large. And it's a lot of money for a motorbike.
Yeah, and any bike that costs that much is going to be a low volume bike because your market's limited.
But you've spent a bloody fortune on it. And Kawasaki are okay with that because, like a lot of the other manufacturers, they're like, this is a flagship bike. This is how we showcase our technology. This is how we show what we can do. And
yeah, I wonder if they write off a lot of the costs as marketing.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just find it very interesting looking at the prices of stuff and trying to figure out, would I ever benefit from that,
Right.
I mean, considering that there are a lot of very good bikes under 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yamaha's making a lot of bikes, the MT-09, MT-07.
T7.
They're making really good bikes for under 10 grand. So I'm always kind of shocked when I see things like, the price tag on the Versys 1000. I'm like, whoa, because the Versys 650, not ABS, the one I had or any of that stuff, but it was a very good bike, very responsive, did all the things I needed it. So yeah, I just found it interesting.
Yeah, but the market for the 1000 really is going after the GS market. So if you compare a GS fully loaded to a Versys 1000 fully loaded, I would say the better value is the Versus 1000.
Yeah.
You know, you're lopping 12 grand off.
Well, Emma, you're talking about sophisticated bikes. You want to talk about a sophisticated bike of its time, the Vincent?
Well, so I've got a bike in my workshop right now, and it ain't just a Vincent. It's a very special Vincent.
Ooh.
It's one of a few. Oh. So it's an Egli framed Vincent.
Ooh.
So it's absolutely the best of what Britain had to offer and what Switzerland had to offer. And I thought it's an opportunity. I'm not going to do a history all on Vincent today.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm just curious. Is this thing assembled in your garage right now?
No, it's in pieces now. It came to me assembled, but I pulled it
How
apart.
long until you think it's going to be assembled not running, assembled?
Probably a month.
Okay, and I'm just curious, how much would you charge somebody to come to a private photo session naked on that bike?
It depends how acceptable their body is.
Because John is very interested.
In a motosexual fashion. Well,
I got no problem. Okay, let's go.
Rolling freestyle.
Yeah, I mean, John's a handsome guy. I don't have a problem with it. I don't want any ugly-ass spotty men in my garage.
I was just thinking that could be a whole nother income you can create. Doing photo shoots naked
pictures of me on
beautiful bikes.
Naked.
Yeah, no, that's pictures of John naked on bikes.
You could do a calendar. That would be great.
Just sign up on OnlyFans and people will flock to you.
It's March, so here's John naked on a Benelli Tornado. April, we're going to see him naked on a Harley Davidson
Oh my
topper.
God!
Oh,
can he do the whole rolly free pose on each of them?
Oh yeah. No, I think. Well,
Dude, that has to be our next calendar, man.
You just hang on now because.
Hey, we'll give a free one to every Patreon listener.
You know, John and Bagel. You know, they've both got fine beards, so I think we could do a mashup of the Rolly Free and the Burt Reynolds centerfold. We can do like the Burt Reynolds centerfold pose on the Vincent.
Well, and I see a scooter catalog with Bagel there too.
Yeah,
this is true.
All right, something to work on. Sorry, I just had a brain fart there.
So anyway, so I've got this thing kicking around in my garage, and I'm doing an engine build on it. I thought, you know, Egli or Egli.
Egli.
Oh, thank you, darling. Egli.
Yep. Egli.
It's a
Egli, it's not something I know a massive amount about. So I thought I'll do a little bit of research and find out what it's all about and share it as a mineral. As a mineral.
Have some more whiskey, darling. Some gin.
Yes, I've been at the gin. A mini history hole because it is quite interesting.
Cool.
So, Egli. What is an Egli? So it was born out of motorcycle racing. And back in the 1960s, there were a ton of frame builders, motorcycle racers, and they were all trying to achieve the same thing. They were trying to go as fast as possible. There you go. With a smallest possible weight. Now, the ones you've heard of, I'm sure, are Don and Derek Rickman, who formed Rickman Motorcycles, Paul Dunstall, who formed Dunstall Motorcycles, Dave Deegans. Who's Dave Deegans? Well, he made Dresda Motorcycles. And all these guys have the same thing in common. They're all motorcycle racers who decided that they could do better than what the manufacturers were giving them. So now, these are all English guys. So let's move to Switzerland and talk about Fritz Igley. Egli?
Egli.
Egli. So Fritz Igley, he was born in 1937. So right around 1960, I beg your pardon, right around 1962, 63, he started racing. 15, 16 years old. And he was quite successful at it, but he was always looking for more power. He was always looking for more rigid handling. Now, in 1965 was a turning point. He'd gotten hold of a Vincent engine, and you got to trust me on this. Vincents are wonderful, wonderful engines. I've had a few in my life over the years. I've loved every single one, but oh God, I'm going to upset so many people right now. They're not the best handling bike in the world. They are not the best braking motorcycle in the world.
Right. Well, was any bike in that era?
There you go. And it's
Right.
easy to forget how old they are.
Right.
Because the time of the Vincent was, or the Vincent as we know it, the Vincent that pops into our head, is immediate post-war. We're talking
Right, 40s,
1947 to the mid-50s. Now, were the Vincents before the war? Yes, of course they were. But I'm talking about the classic 1000cc V-twin with those knuckle-shaped cylinder heads and that giant timing case.
Is this what you have in your garage, Emma?
Yes.
I really want to sit on that naked. Oh my God, that is a good looking bike.
So I got dibs on that.
Oh wow!
Has anyone asked the owner yet?
So the one in my garage has actually got a chrome tank on it.
Oh,
So
stop
yes.
Oh, so you just did it for me right
So
there.
sexy.
So in 1965, Fritz Igley.
Hold on, I just have to announce that Holly has entered the room.
Ah,
Hi, Holly.
Meow.
hi, Holly.
Yeah, so you may hear some of that. Go ahead.
So
Okay, Holly.
he'd gotten hold of this Vincent, and the one thing Vincents have always been very, very good at is making big horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go back to 1965. You're going to say, well, why a Vincent? So let's have a think about what engines were available in 1965.
Small ones.
No, just if you want
British.
a big power
Yeah.
engine,
Yeah.
if you want a
Your
big
V-twin.
horsepower engine, what are you going to choose?
V-twin.
The 750 isn't invented yet.
No.
The Honda 450. Now, Honda have got all kinds of exotic
Yeah.
GP racers. Doesn't mean you could buy one. The Triumph
Aerial
Trident, which is a big horsepower engine, hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah.
Or it has, but it hasn't been released. You know, the Trident was on the drawing board from 62, but it wasn't released till 68.
Norton's.
Yeah, Norton's are lusty engines, but they're the same as Triumph Twins. It's like a 45, 50 horsepower engine.
And not the Heinkel 175?
Yeah, there you go. What is that, 12 horsepower? 8?
It might be 9, I think.
But if you want a big horsepower tunable engine, Vincent makes sense. And as bizarre as it sounds, back in the mid-60s, you could actually pick these things up quite cheaply.
Yeah.
And with a few modifications, you could make big horsepower. So Fritz Igley decided that he'd got the horsepower he wanted. He needed some handling to go with it. So he came up, his idea for a frame was using a very, very large diameter, in fact, 120 millimeters, which is what, 4 inches? A solid backbone above the engine, which in the Vincent's case carried the oil,
Mm-hmm.
and all straight edges. One of the hallmarks of an Egli frame is everything is straight. And it's called triangulation, and that's how you make things strong.
Yeah.
By using straight edges, preferably made into a triangle. In nature, a triangle is a very, very strong shape.
Rigid.
So by triangulating the frame and using the engine as a stressed member, you can make a very, very rigid setup. Who do you think was doing the best forks and suspension back then?
Triumph.
The Italians.
Ah.
Oh,
So Seriani forks,
Mm-hmm.
big fin drum brakes. As far as I know, back then, Fontana and CMA weren't actually put on Eglis. They've been put on them since, but back then it was Italian stuff. And so he ended up with a very, very rigid high power racer. And of course he did very, very well with it. He made quite a few of these Vincent engine specials with his frame. And a lot of connoisseurs actually regard them as ground zero for Egli motorcycles. But he didn't stop with the Vincents. In the late 60s, 69, what bike appeared?
Oh, that's
The
the
CB,
CB750. Yeah.
CB750. CB750 changed motorcycling overnight. We all know why, and we've delved into this in a previous history hole. But once again, it's a great bike, but it's a little bit overweight, and the handling wasn't all it could be. So naturally, Egli decided to make a frame for that, using the same principles that he used for the Vincent. What came in 1973? Kawasaki Z1.
Oh, yeah.
And if you think the CB750 rocked the world, the Z1 just blew it out of the water.
Wow.
So now he's making a frame for that. And they all featured the same basic setup. A 4-inch diameter top tube, which in the case of the CB750 carried the oil. Obviously, the Kawasaki was a wet sump engine. A few were actually converted to dry sump for racing, but and then you could use that top tube as an oil reservoir, but with the triangulated frame. And his frame was actually copied over and over and over again. Dunstall copied his frame. The Rickman brothers, they always incorporated curves in their frame, but the basic principles were the same. A dead copy for his frame was by a manufacturer called Healy. And Healy did a conversion using the Ariel Square 4 engine. And if you want to Google a Healy Square 4, that is an absolute knockoff of the Egli design, done by an English manufacturer. And we can see remnants of his frame design even now in modern bikes. The gold standard for frame building is triangulation. And he was the first one that really put it to the most practical use. Right now, Egli frame bikes are particularly coveted. You've got a very, very exclusive Swiss frame. You know, you add a very exclusive English engine. There you are. There's a Healy Square 4 that Liza's showing us. That's a dead knockoff of Fritz Igley's frame.
So Emma, these frames were provided to the manufacturers, or was it all totally aftermarket? And were they all race applications?
No, they were sold as bikes, and they were sold in road going trim.
Were.
Yeah, they were sold as road going trim. So basically, Egli had two ways. You could buy a bespoke ready-made bike with a brand new engine in it, or say it's 1973. Let's get transported back to 1973, and you decide you want an Egli Vincent. You could send him. You could send him your Vincent, and he'd convert it and ship you the stuff back. Or conversely, you could say, "I just want it," and he'd source you an engine.
Wow.
Emma,
Yes.
I just looked up some of the values of these. How much is the one worth in your garage right now? Are you allowed to say?
It's probably worth about half what my house is worth.
Oh, these are really expensive.
6 figures
products.
at least.
Well,
Oh,
you know, exclusivity. Would you like to see a picture of it?
yeah.
I'll hold it up to the camera.
Sure.
Hold on. Let me show you.
No, I want to wait for the picture with John naked on it. I'm good.
Are you sure?
No, I'm kidding.
I would.
Oh, let's see. Yeah.
Ooh, that is a sexy bike.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Wow.
That's it sitting in the back of the El Camino.
Man.
And I will show you it with no clothes on.
Is that like a $60,000 to $70,000 bike?
Oh, no. Double
It's
that.
one of those.
6
geez.
figures at least.
Yeah, wow.
That's what it looks like with no
yeah.
clothes
Oh
on.
my God, it's even
Wow.
sexier without its clothes on.
So does the value go up when I take my
Wow.
naked picture on it?
Yeah, I think actually, John, I'm going to stick my neck out here. If you were to pose naked on any bike, I think we could double the value of the bike.
I'm going to
I-
say you and the bike should both be naked. Just be careful about the intake. That's all.
You know, I think the only prerequisite, John, I think you should keep your cap on and your boots.
That's
just-
a great idea.
Cap and boots, nothing else. You know, go for the good solid working class thing. But no, I think you could quite easily double the value of any machine. You know,
Especially if I shave my back.
just you know.
Because aerodynamics.
No, I kind of like the hirsute look. It's kind of the bear thing. Just, you know, make sure you keep your junk off the battery, you know, because
You don't want to short that out, trust me.
you don't want 12 volts being pounded through there. So, you know, if you're grounded
maybe I
on
do.
the frame and you touch the positive terminal,
I would just like to say, side note, I gave John's son a ride on the back of my bike today.
He's a big lad, isn't he?
He's a
Yeah.
very big lad. I was squished up against a tank, and I turned to him. I said, "This is what you call nut to butt, son, and also nut to small and lower back." Big boy.
Meanwhile, we're going off on a tangent. So anyway,
Could I
dear
ask a question?
Fritz is still alive right now, and the best news is he'll sell you an Egli
Ooh,
right now
wow.
on Valentine's Day 2021. If you give the Egli Corporation enough money, they will sell you a bike.
No
Is
doubt.
there any way I can get a small one for the wall in here?
You know, I'd love to know if Tamiya or someone ever did a
know,
model,
right?
I would not be surprised.
but they are glorious looking things. And of course, one of the hallmarks of the frame is they're nickel plated.
Ooh,
And nickeling
nice.
I love nickel plating. It's got a beautiful kind of antique patina, even when it's new. And they're just glorious looking things. And the
Nice.
thing is, with the Egli, which I noticed when I was lugging it in the back, in and out of the truck, they are so agile and just lightweight.
Mhm.
It pushes around like a 250.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
Wow.
the bike came to me as a non-runner, so I've got to build the engine. But I am so looking forward to riding it, because just by pushing it, you can feel that the balance is perfect. The weight distribution is perfect. The poise is just perfect.
That's cool.
And it's a delight. It's an absolutely delightful thing. And with a big horsepower Vincent engine in it. And I'm putting cams in this thing. I'm putting pistons in it. I'm doing some rod work. I'm doing some lightning and balancing on the crank. I mean, I'm going for about a 90 horsepower engine. It's going to be quite something.
I have to say, I'm feeling a little motosexual right now, and everything you're saying is making it worse.
Oh God, sorry, dear.
Now
You
I
have
have
to leave the room.
now I have a question to possibly ramp up this motosexual
Oh, gosh.
attention here. Now there's another bike or a series of bikes that was produced during that same time frame where Egli was very active. And I'm wondering if he built frames for those engines as well. was these bikes were notorious about their poor handling. The Kawasaki Triples. Was there an Egli Kawasaki Triple?
I don't think so.
I found
Oh,
Egli
man.
Hondas. I didn't find that.
Because a Kawasaki Triple with good handling. Oh man.
Yeah, and I really don't think there ever was one.
I'm seeing maybe Egli Kawasaki Z900.
Right. You mentioned the Z900.
I think
Oh, hold on. An
What's that?
1980 Egli Turbo Kawasaki.
there's a big horsepower
Whoa.
engine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think, I'll find out a little more, Bagel, because you're putting me on the spot here.
Wait.
Okay.
I found video
Oh.
of an Egli Kawasaki H2.
There you go.
Oh wow.
Oh,
That's obviously race only.
Yes. But oh
Yeah.
my god, that is cool.
And it's got gold wheels.
Right? Very cool.
Emma, you've
Yeah.
introduced us to a whole nother bike to be motosexual about.
Well, there's so many of them. And they're kind of like the forgotten stepchild of motorcycling because we all get excited about Z1s. We all get excited about 750 Hondas. But just do a Google search on a Dresda Honda 750. The most marvelous looking thing. And then, of course, you've got the other frame builder, Tony Fole, who came up with this revolutionary front end. The really are kind of almost like a leading link for racing engines. These were really true innovators who took not the best handling machines and really turned them into something that was very, very special.
look at this.
Mhm.
An Egli water buffalo.
There you go. Oh,
Wow.
good Lord.
I think we found Emma's perfect date.
That's what
I'm going
about right
I'm going to have to leave the room. But yeah, so there you go. Frame builders of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. And it's a really interesting look back into that time too, because that was also a time when, just anybody could start building bikes and selling them.
Right.
There wasn't the regulations and requirements that they have today for production motorcycles, where you have to meet all of these standards,
Right.
where you could just build the bike that you wanted to build and people wanted to buy and you could sell it. And, it's just thinking back to that time. That's a really cool era.
It's kind of the Wild West, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
very much
it's
so.
kind of it is a cool time. Any motorcycle, car, packet of cornflakes that's sold in Europe, you're going to see a big E in a circle somewhere on it.
Yep.
And that means it's met type approval. And in
Yep.
order to get that E, and you can't sell anything in Europe without it, you've got to
Right.
jump through all these hoops. And unfortunately, with motorcycles and cars, it basically means you've got to crash one into a wall.
Right.
And for the small manufacturer, because basically Egli, like Dave Deegan's, like the Rickman brothers, like Paul Dunstall, started in a shed.
Right.
And if you built this gorgeous thing, the last thing you want to do is build another one solely to crash into a wall.
Right. And Egli's in Switzerland, which is not part of the EU, so they're still able to build custom bikes like this.
Right.
Bagel,
Yes.
I found an Egli Vespa.
What?
No, I'm kidding. But it's an Egli Harley Davidson.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Now look at
Yeah.
the triangulation on that frame. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I was trying to imagine Egli with the Bajaj.
And just as a side note, I wanted to say that the Egli was actually improved, of all things, by an Australian engineer whose name escapes me for now. And let's see if I can find out who his name was. The one improvement, because Eglis really have changed very little. Ooh,
what'd you find? She found another Egli, didn't you?
no.
I mean, it's a rabbit hole you can go down. Just Google Egli, E-G-L-I.
I wonder if Fritz Igley's father was a bicycle racer.
Oh.
Could be.
So anyway, no, it doesn't give his name. However, the one big change came to the frame in 1979 when an Australian enthusiast visited the factory and suggested, I've said that the top tube of the frame, this 4-inch diameter tube, which is the critical part of the frame, he suggested adding rigidity by including a honeycomb inside the frame. And apparently Fritz was so impressed with that, from that point forward, from 79 onwards, every single Egli frame had the honeycomb within that top spine. So there you go.
But how did they get the bees out?
They tempted them out with pollen. Darling. And then right underneath the petcock, you had the petcock, and you turned on the fuel. And right next to it was the gold-colored petcock that you turned on to get the honey.
So, Emma, do you ever watch the Fort 9 videos?
No.
Well, he does a lot of really cool stuff, but there's one that's...
I like the Fort 8 ones.
Yeah, that's one of the most popular videos he's done that a lot of people have seen, and it's him trying to kill a KLR. And it's pretty funny.
I think I might have seen that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. But here's the question, Emma. Is the KLR killable?
No, it is the cockroach of motorcycling. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you three to discuss that amongst yourselves while I go for a quick pee.
You gotta
make myself a cup of tea, and then I'll be back and I'll see what conclusions you've come to.
So, John,
I will.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say that any motorcycle is killable. It just depends on how hard you try.
Yeah. Well,
That's
John,
exactly
what did I say when you got the KLR?
Well, try to kill that bike, John.
And your son tried really hard today.
He tried. Yeah, he almost came. He came real close. He came real close to a motor out.
Wow.
So your son, he's new to riding. He's taken the test, so he knows how to ride, but he's still new. And he's a large man.
He is large.
He is a
And in
large
charge.
man. And he put him on that KLR, and it's like, well, he can do it. But you guys were out riding, and then you left the garage today, and you called short time later, and you're like, well, I think he killed it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know how you could kill it. I mean, Fort 9, he tried to kill it. He couldn't kill it. So I drove up to come meet you, and I'm like, well, I think you killed it. It was stuck in gear, and I couldn't get it out of gear. Pulling the shifter up did nothing, and putting it down, it felt kind of loose, and it kind of made like almost a rattle sound when I kicked it down. But I could roll the engine, I could roll the bike and get the engine to turn over. So I know the engine wasn't seized. And by doing that, sometimes you can realign the transmission and be able to shift it. I couldn't. So we had to go back and get the trailer and come get it. And we were talking like, well, how much do you think it's going to cost for a frame out rebuild? Emma, by the way, how much would an estimate on a frame out transmission rebuild on the KLR cost? What would be
it's essentially quite a simple bike. I'd have to look at the flat rate time. I would say flat rate on it, it's probably 8 or 9 hours. So just extrapolate that.
Yeah.
150 an
Yeah, that's
hour,
kind of what we said. Yeah.
Yeah.
plus parts. So
Yeah,
I
$2,000,
would suggest, let's say it's 8 hours. So in terms of labor, you're into 1,200,
Mhm.
and then throw in a couple of gears. It's a $2,000 job.
Yeah.
On a $5,000 bike.
And this wasn't just a simple issue of the clutch not disengaging or something.
So we went and got the bike and brought it back to the garage. And let's just
Right.
say Emma had it fixed in about 30 seconds flat.
Mm-hmm.
She did, yeah.
And I'm kind of embarrassed
was
I
ju-
didn't think of it. But now that I know what happened, it made sense. Emma, you want to describe what you found?
Well, let's go back to let's do a crash scene investigation. So right
There
now,
are reasons for the
we're
problems.
CSI Santa Cruz, and whenever you attend a catastrophic event, mostly it's not a single event that led up to it; it's multiple events.
There's a combination of factors.
It is a
starting with
combination of
a
factors.
lost title.
Right. So, here are some of the factors that contributed to the problem. Sam is an extremely large lad. Sam also has extremely large feet.
Oh, so we could partially blame Josh for this.
Yeah, I mean, genetics do play a role in it.
No, not John. Josh.
Oh, Josh. Well, I'm coming to Josh.
Yes.
I'm coming to Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Sam had also just received a brand new used pair of boots from a gentleman who just donated them to the garage the week before.
And I want to say that this is the perfect example of the type of people we are giving gear to. So, John, being a good dad, you've got your kid outfitted in all the right gear. He's got the jacket, the gloves, the pants, the helmet, and he's got giant legs and feet. I mean, he's a mountain. He's a mountain, right?
Right.
And he has not found boots that can fit around his thick calves.
Oh, wow.
And so he's wearing sneakers.
Yeah, so he
Ooh.
came
That's
down
his
wearing
protective equipment. Yeah.
So he came down wearing sneakers, and basically we kitted him out with some very, very thick sole, proper motorcycling MX boots, you know, with the arm around the front and the buckles on the side, and they fitted him perfectly. So that's one of the factors. And then the final factor, and I'm going to speculate here, but I think the gear shift itself wasn't tightened up as much as it should be on the spline.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened was Sam is really still a very inexperienced motorcyclist. He's passed his test, he's done the course, but he's still very much getting used to how a motorcycle feels. And I think the fact that he's got very, very big feet, he's obviously a very, very powerful young man, and he'd got these giant friggin' boots on. He and this is the important thing, he stripped the splines on the gear shift.
Wow.
And this is one of the fatal flaws of KLRs. They are unbreakable, but I've come across this a few times. Liza, remind me, Cynthia, the dentist, what's her husband's name?
Matt.
Matt, who's an equally large guy, came down with a very, very similar problem on his KLR probably 3 or 4 years ago now. And it was the same thing. The gear shift spline, the shaft on a KLR, is tucked quite a way into the engine. And immediately below it is a frame down tube. And immediately above it is the generator casing. So the gear shift has to take quite a tortuous route to clear both items. And if it misses on a spline, if it clicks around one spline, it will foul the gear shift on downshifting. And if it misses one spline moving up, it'll foul the generator case going up. So it's, the adjustment is critical. And you got to keep it tight. And I think Sam was probably still getting used to his boots, and he was probably a little frustrated.
And then that is the thing with MX boots, and I've had this experience
Right.
before too. It's hard to feel the shifter.
Right.
So you're just kind of like stabbing at it. You know?
And he's, you know, he's a young guy, so he's got lots and lots of testosterone pumping around his body. And he probably got a little bit frustrated, as young men do. And he stamped on the gear shift, and it just went click round one spline. And from that point forward, you're not shifting anymore. And it was basically the gear shift clamshell on the lever itself had moved on the spline. So what I did, the bike came in and I recognized it immediately, pulled off the gear shift, cleaned up the splines, did a little bit of remedial repair work on the gap. And then here's the thing which may surprise a lot of people, is I actually greased it. I greased the splines and I greased the bolts. And what that does, what that grease does, it allows the splines to fully engage. So what we've got to think about is we've got to think about a clock face. Think about a clock face. And at every 15 minutes, there's a tooth. Now, in order for the gear shift to be at its most effective, all the teeth have got to mesh. So when you tighten up the pinch bolt, all the teeth are meshing. If you do it dry and some of the teeth bind up, the bolt will go tight and you think it's tight, but it's not tight on all the splines. By cleaning everything up and greasing them, it's allowing that tiny bit of movement for all the teeth to mesh. So when you tighten it up and you get that final tight feeling, you know that every single tooth is engaged. So we did that, cleaned it up, greased it, put it back on, tightened it up. I gave it a test ride. It shifted perfectly. And then I came back and had a little talk with Sam. And what I said to Sam was, I said, Sam, darling, are you a dog person or a cat person? I knew the answer straight away. And he said, I'm a dog person. And I said, well, Sam, here's what I want you to imagine. I want you to imagine there's a tiny, fragile little puppy's head attached to the gear shift. Now, if you're very, very gentle and very, very careful, he's going to be just fine. But if you stamp on it and smash it and crunch it, you're going to smash up the puppy's skull. And you don't want to kill a puppy, do you? And he's going, no. So I said, be gentle with it. And I'm guessing, John, he got home safe.
A little wobbly, but he got home safe.
Right. And, you know, that's the biggest mistake I see among novice riders and novice mechanics as well. A Japanese motorcycle is a precision machine. It's very, very carefully made. Even the cheaper entry-level models like KLR 650s, because, you know, a KLR 650 is a lot of things, but an expensive bike isn't one of them. It's an entry-level bike. It can be your first big bike, but it's still a precision machine. And there's nothing on that bike that requires any force to ride it. Forcing something, you're doing it wrong. And it's the same when you work on them, you know?
Yeah, and also that's a really good point that you mentioned about the Japanese being precision machines, because I've noticed that on Japanese bikes, the splines on the shafts are much, much smaller, much finer than they are on other bikes like my scooters that I work on, the vintage Vespas and Henkels. Their splines are like at least a millimeter wide. But on the Japanese bikes, it's like maybe like a quarter of a millimeter, the tiny little splines. So that tip of putting the grease on there is fantastic, and I totally can see how that would work, because that allows everything to mesh without binding and seizing up on, you know, metal to metal.
Right. And, it's an old trick I learned, of course, from messing about with old British sports cars. Because if we talk about MGs and Triumphs that were made in the 1960s and Austin Healey's, they're all these fantastic wire wheels with a knockoff in the middle.
Yep.
And the way knockoff wheels works is instead of having a hub with studs coming through, you have a large diameter hub which is splined. And then it engages with a spline on the wheel, and you push it over, and then you tighten up the knockoff, and it holds the wheel on. But you always need to put a little bit of grease on those splines to help it seat, because a dry wheel, it'll bind up, it'll make you think it's tight when it's not, and then it'll come flying off on the first corner. But I know, I know Sam felt kind of bad, and I tried to reassure him a little bit, and he's like, oh, it's Dad's bike. And I'm like, don't worry about it. There's a lot of factors. And I mean, even me, I don't, you know me, I love my Jags. And I don't wear them so much anymore as I used to when I was younger. But back when I was wearing platforms, I would get through brakes so quickly in my Jags. Because I can't, you need a thin sole to feel the pedal. And, I'd have these platforms on and I'd just be over braking the car. And it's very, very difficult to drive a car smoothly wearing platforms. You're over accelerating it and you're over braking it. And so it is with bikes. He was getting no feedback from the bike from his footwear. So, it wasn't his fault, and he's still learning. But you seem like a pretty forgiving dad, John.
Well, yeah, for a 15-minute fix, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe for a $2,000 motor out, it'd be a different conversation.
But yeah, that is actually one of the few flaws of Kawasaki's. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, and you've got a KLR 650, my best advice to you is go out to it right now and wobble the gear shift and make sure it's tight on its splines. And if it isn't, you can either tighten it up, or if you're feeling ambitious, pull it off, just put a little bit of grease on the splines, make sure you push it home completely so that the end of the shaft is flush with the gear shift arm. Tighten it up nicely. Remember, it's only a 6mm bolt, so you don't need to go bananas, but you need to make it snug and save yourself any embarrassing. Because if that gear shift strips in traffic, you're done. You're not moving the bike. And that's exactly what happened to you guys.
That's what happened, yep.
Yeah. And be sure to clean the splines off, both the shafts and the lever as well, just to make sure everything goes back.
A clean spline is a happy spline. If your gear shift has been wobbling about, what you're going to do is you're going to pull it off, and all these little flakes of metal and God knows what are all going to fall off. And that's part of the shaft and the gear shift.
That's when you weld it back on.
Oh, God. I've seen that before as well.
I've done that
before. Vice grips work.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, vice grips won't work in a KLR because you haven't got room for them. Yep. That shaft is so recessed in there. And I always think that was kind of an odd piece of design for a ADV bike.
Well, but it makes sense because remember the Honda XL175 that I had?
Yes.
That had a very long shaft that was prone to snapping off.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, is that if the shaft sticks out from the engine and you go down, you run the risk of breaking the shaft potentially. If the shaft hits the ground, if it's recessed, then you're only going to break the lever. And that's a much cheaper fix.
Yeah. And that's true. Yeah. Back when I was doing a lot more work on repairing Bonnevilles, there's a little quirk of the 2001 up Bonnevilles that if you fell off on the left side of the bike and you bent the gear shift shaft, and it was quite easy to do, you actually had to cut the shaft off clean before you could attempt to get the shaft out because it crossed over the bike. So the gear shift obviously was on the left side of the bike, but the shifting mechanism was on the right side of the bike.
Oh, geez.
And so if you bent the end of that shaft, it was a snug fit all the way through the casings. So you couldn't
Wow.
even get the casing off to repair it unless you'd cut it off flush. And of course, if you cut it off flush, you're doing a lot of heat, so you're destroying the oil seal immediately behind it.
Right.
So, you know, you'd get a Bonneville come in and you'd say, oh yeah, the gear shift shaft is bent. Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to get the shaft mechanism cover gasket, the shaft itself, the clutch cover gasket, which is one on the left side, and the clutch oil seal, and the gear shift and whatever else you needed. It's just a little quirk with them. You know, all bikes have got little quirks. It's a case of knowing them. But
So for now, the KLR can remain unkillable.
I think so.
Ah, there it is.
You know, they're tough bikes. The only advice I will give, and it's the same for all single-cylinder bikes, it's a very, very tall engine. The same as a DR650 is a tall engine. The same as an XR650L is a tall engine. Same as a KTM single is a tall engine. It's a long way between the camshaft, which is the most vascular, the greediest of all the components in an engine. Your camshaft is the greediest when it comes to oil, and it's the furthest away from the oil pump. What does that mean for you? Use a good quality oil, stick with the manufacturer's viscosity, and keep it changed regularly. If you're going to have engine problems with a KLR, it's going to be at the top.
There you go. Is that your top tip?
That's my top tip. You're riding no, it applies to all bikes. Keep your oil clean, keep it changed regularly, use a good quality oil of the manufacturer's specified viscosity. Now, your Uncle Bob or your crazy cousin Dave may say, oh, it'll run better with thicker oil in it, because that's how they talk, you know.
Amsoil.
Yeah. But yeah, if you put car Amsoil in it, it's going to run just great. And don't use 1040, use 2050. Well, 2050 is okay for British bikes that have got camshafts that are down in the bottom and are lubricated from splash feed. The problem is motorcycles with an overhead cam, where the cam is running directly in the cylinder head, you want the oil to get from the pan up to that camshaft as quickly as possible. And if you've got 2050 in it, especially car 2050, if your clutch hasn't called it quits, it's not going to be sprinting up the oil ways. It's going to be having a leisurely stroll up the oil ways. Oh, it's a lovely summer day, and la la la, and all the time your camshaft's going. So if the manufacturer says 1040, put 1040 in it. If the manufacturer says 530, put 530 in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is why.
Yep.
So I have some announcements to make.
Oh, do you really?
Wow.
I do.
Oh, good.
So, Emma, you know, one of the things that made it such a great day today is I lifted the limit on how many people could come to the garage.
Yeah, wasn't it good?
It was a great day. So we've been doing it by appointment only, 2 appointments a week, just keeping it very bare minimum while we got through this, you know, peak time of COVID when the hospitals were full. But things have been going well. So I lifted it and kind of put out the word, and we had Charlie came by and Knock and Adrian and James, and just, it was kind of like the old times of people just kind of all hanging out 6 feet apart, but you know, hanging out, shooting the shit. And it felt really good to kind of have that again, you know. It would have been nice if Bagel was there, but it was nice.
Someday.
And I want to make an opportunity to, because we had somebody comment on our website that the election's over,
there?
and
Are you going there?
Well, I just want to make it absolutely clear that Misfits and the Recycle Garage have never been a politically affiliated organization, and we never will be. It's not of any interest to us. Our basis in opening in the garage is solely on the rates of
Safety.
beds available in ICU. When it drops below a certain level, we change from, code purple to code red, and we can begin to open things up. The only political conversation I'm willing to get in is join the AMA. You should join the AMA because the AMA have paid lobbyists who are working to make sure your freedoms aren't eroded from anyone in Washington, no matter who their political affiliation is. So my extent of getting involved in politics is join the AMA, give them your money, be active, be involved. And that's it.
Yeah, and I just me personally, I want to say that COVID is not about politics. This is about keeping people safe and alive. We have lost nearly 500,000 people in the United States over the last year because of this disease, because people are not taking it seriously. Now, we're still learning as we go, but this is a really, really serious pandemic, and it's going to continue for a while.
Oh, sure.
So, so this is not a political thing. This is about keeping people safe. So anybody who puts a political bent on this, I just want to say, fuck you.
Bagel.
I'm sorry. I need to say that because this is about human lives. Okay. Fuck your politics. Fuck all this bullshit. Keep people safe. And we need to have social time because that is important to us because we are social creatures, but we need to do it in a safe way. Okay. And, I don't care what your political bent is. You need to take COVID seriously because this could mean your life. It could mean the lives of people who you care about. Okay. And COVID does not give a damn about your politics. Okay, this is a real thing.
Not dissimilar to riding around on motorcycles, because in the wrong hands, motorcycling can be dangerous, and we're all about keeping people safe on motorbikes.
Right,
that's who we are.
Right, and both are about risk reduction, and risk management, and that's what this is all about.
Actually, it's about the garage has always been a safe space, and that safe space refers to many different things. And in this case, it's making it safe because this is a place that Emma and I and other people are here donating our time and services to people. But I take care of my parents who are senior citizens who haven't had the vaccine yet. So I have to straddle the line because the rest of my time I spend alone quarantining to limit the risk. So I'm just happy we were able to open and let more people come in, and it started to feel like the old times.
My definition of safe: if you want to lie naked on one of my bikes, that's fine, but you'd better put a rubber Johnny on. I'm sorry, you Americans call them rubber Jimmies.
I have some more announcements. Speaking of the AMA.
Yes.
So I think I mentioned it before. The AMA has a podcast they started.
Do we like the AMA?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
And it's called On the Line with the AMA. And if you go listen to the latest episode, you'll have me and Haley on there.
Wasn't that a song by Toto?
I listened to all of the episodes over the past week, and it's a really good show. They've got some really good guests on there.
Is it a really big shoe?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But I recommend it. It is a wonderful addition to motorcycling podcastery.
I have another announcement.
Oh, good-o.
So this one is a big thank you to all the people who answered my call for reviews on iTunes. Thank you very much. Keep it coming. We got a lot of great reviews. Thank you. But there's a great one here that I want to share with everyone.
What? It's in the one.
And this one is written, and I even love the name. The username is Fjord Fiesta.
That's totally Phil. That is totally Phil.
Fjord Fiesta. And he gave us a little, I guess, a limerick, you would call it. Is it? There once was a mechanic named Emma, whose favorite tool was a hammer. When she got into a bottle of gin, she'd always wind up in the slammer.
Oh, blimey! I've been rumbled.
Oh my God.
Oh, Fjord.
Fjord Fiesta. I love it.
Fjord Fiesta.
Thank you, everyone, for the reviews. And I'm going to put out the request again, because not only does it get that really bad negative review further down the line, but you have to remember, this is a way that other people can discover our show. And by getting more reviews on there, it'll pop up as a suggestion to more people. So if you like what you're listening to, please go on to iTunes and give a review and help us get the word out to even more people. We've been doing this a long time, and a lot of people know about us, but there's so many new motorcycle podcasts out there now. And they are being sponsored, by the AMA or by Revzilla or by, they're all out there, and they're bringing all new stuff to the game. We're still just chugging along, just doing this on our own and just, kind of being us and bringing you us. So we still need to, scrape and climb and crawl to keep our position and have more people learn about us. And then I think.
Well, Liza, I imagine people can also slide over to YouTube and subscribe and like the YouTube channel.
There you go.
Yes, indeed.
There you go. Where I've been sharing the Zooms on there. So if you want to just hear us rambling on instead of just the audio, you have that. And every now and then we do more things. And then the final announcement is I've been talking with Emma about starting something up at the garage. So due to COVID, due to the winter, it always kind of the crowds that come kind of wanes a bit. And as I said, we've kind of dialed it down to just helping a few people each week. But because of that, we have a new opportunity that's come up. Because now Emma has more time available because she's not being torn between 8 people at a time, I discussed with her maybe starting to do some classes and seminars at the garage.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
A great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Like we were just throwing out there, like the first one, maybe just like breaking down and cleaning carbs. And I think, Bagel, you know the shop well enough. Do you think like if we open it up for 4 people, so she could do it outside on a table and like we could still do safe, keep people.
I think if you can do it outside and everybody's 6 feet apart with masks on, I think it's totally cool. That is doing it safe.
We might be able to do more, Emma, if you invite people up one at a time to come take a closer look at stuff.
Right.
You could be like when you go to the supermarket and you have the guy like cutting up vegetables, throwing into the juicer, and he's got the little microphone and he's, come on out, remember, so yeah, chops in it, juices in it.
Oh no, I want to be like
that.
I want to be like Vince. You remember Vince? Hey, I got your ShamWow right here.
Yeah, the ShamWow.
I used to love. What happened to Vince? I think he was actually locked up or something. I want to think.
Oh.
I think so.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, he just.
All I know is Billy Mays, but.
Yeah.
So we're talking about doing that, Emma. We should do that maybe in the next couple of weeks.
And I'll accept requests for outfits to wear. If you wanna see me dismantle a carburetor wearing a certain outfit, I'll do my best.
My vote is for platform shoes.
Okay. I think I've got a pair of platforms still.
Let's make it weather appropriate because we care about Miss Emma.
I would like for you to wear the Leia slave outfit.
that would be a summer request.
Oh God. All right then.
Fine. And the good news too is just so funny. As we were talking about that, I got a message from Mean Megan about her husband, partner, yes, baby daddy, Jason, JP Hunt suspension, and they were reaching out saying, "Hey, we thought it'd be cool if we did a suspension like class at your shop." And I'm like, wow, we were just talking about doing that. So
Oh yeah.
I think I'm
And
gonna start
make no
lining that up.
mistake, Jason is an absolute world-class suspension guru. So this is an absolutely big deal.
So
I
Emma,
might even ride down for something like that.
so Emma, let me ask you this.
Yes.
How long would you need to do one of your classes? Like 2 hours?
Yeah, I think 2 hours is plenty.
Well, because you're already coming up, driving up. What if we did it from 10 to 12? So we started a little bit early. That way, then we still had the whole afternoon to help people fix bikes.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
So should we schedule?
Schedule.
Do you want to do it next weekend or the weekend after?
Let's do the weekend after.
That way next weekend we can kind of get together.
And
what we're gonna do.
that will actually be my last Sunday because I will be opening my shop the very next day.
Wait,
Wow.
what do you mean your last Sunday?
Well, no, I mean I'm going to be coming down, but it's the last Sunday before I open my shop.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, no. There's no way I will ever give up Misfits.
Okay, thank you.
You're stuck with me for life. But so that is Sunday the 28th.
I'll look at the date. I'll put something together, but I think we're going to start doing some classes. I think 10 to 12.
Yeah.
Quite doable. And we'll put it out there and we're going to figure out how to do it. But I thought that was kind of the next step,
Well, and you may actually not have a choice with outfits because I will be coming directly from church services.
Hey, and who knows? We might actually sell a couple juicers.
Yes. Or sham wows.
Oh my word. I think that's it. Other than there's just really cool stuff going on. We didn't even talk about Guy Martin.
Yes.
His Turbo
Stretch
Busa. Yes.
Ooh, wow.
Turbo Busa going for a speed record. There's
Wow.
things happening out there. There's things to be excited about. We're still in February. You know what, Emma? I'm just going to say, I think we're going to make this year, 2021, a stellar year. I think we're going to figure out how to do things better.
No, I think so. I think the last year has given everyone an opportunity to consider what's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
to me, the most important thing in my life is motorbikes. So the more I have to do with them and the more I have to do with people who own and love them like me, the better my life's going to be. And on Monday, March the 1st, I'm taking possession of my new shop and I'm going to kit it out. And hopefully that's going to become a life force in itself. And it's just going to bring me, just closer into the community.
Yeah.
So when's the party?
Well, the party, I'm going to wait until probably the fall when we can
When we've had vaccines.
Have a party.
when we can have a proper party. I've got one of my dear friends who's, quite a famous musician, has written me a theme song for the shop.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
His band, the
You got a
Bohemian
jingle.
Saints, will be doing a free concert, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a scene. It's going to be a good
You know-
scene, but we're going to wait until we can all enjoy ourselves.
And maybe we can hope that Fjord Fiesta will have some more poems. Have a poetry slam
Ah,
with Micah and Fjord.
yes,
So
Yes, I knew his cousin Fjord Cortina.
oh my word, you silly people. So I think we're ready to wrap it up. Big shout out and thanks to everyone who's been emailing us. I got a bunch. Oh, you know what? I got a bunch of emails. I haven't been able to read them all, but here's one who's nice and short. And this one is from Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Says, hey guys, wanted to start out by saying that I love the podcast. You're helping me dream of warmer weather. It's going to get down to -15 tonight here in Wisconsin. I was wondering if you had some ideas for great riding destinations. I've been out to the Black Hills in South Dakota and to the Tail of the Dragon in North Carolina. I'm looking for some more good twisties that I could take my Sportster or Grom on to have some fun.
Well, I mean, Liza, Bagel,
California.
you're our travelers.
Yeah, I mean, Black
But he's
Hills
a long way from California.
I know, but hey, I'm saying California, there's great.
Sure. I mean, the Rockies are full of great roads too.
Utah.
So yeah, Southern
Yes.
Utah would be amazing.
Southern
Yep.
Utah. I mean, I've been going there my whole life, but a lot of other people are starting to discover it, and I'm really wanting to go explore it more on two wheels.
Yeah. A closer destination to him might also be West Virginia. There's some amazing roads out there.
Yeah. Oh,
The
the
Hill
Blue Ridge
Country.
Parkway.
The Hill Country of Texas
Yeah.
Oh.
is amazing. That's closer to him too.
There's I've been to all those places you're talking about, but when I'm traveling cross country, I think like Bagel, I'm just trying to get to where I'm going.
Right.
So I'm getting there fast. You know what? If we're on a Sportster, I'm going to say Nevada. There's a lot to discover in Nevada.
But there's not a lot of
ghost
country
towns.
roads, though.
But you've got some of these back roads and you can just discover things. Which
Sure.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and even up in southern Massachusetts, there's some really cool stuff up in there and great
Yeah.
museums. You know what?
You know
Hudson
what?
Valley.
Great museums.
Well, I was going to say, if you ride across Ontario, there's some beautiful riding in upstate New York and Vermont. Hit that during the summer, man. That's some gorgeous riding.
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
and Michigan in the summer, really cool.
Yeah.
Poconos and,
The
and
upper peninsula.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there you
Pocono,
go.
poker, yes.
Oh God. Gosh. I think that's it. Anyone else got anything else to share before we get out of here?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine who took over Moto Guild in San Jose.
Oh yeah.
So she reopened it as something called the Garage. Her name is Irene Chen, and they're just trying to do similar things, do-it-yourself stuff, and so they're also doing some repairs and doing some customization things. So if you got a chance, roll over. It's right off of the freeway there in San Jose.
Sweet.
Good one.
Is this an addition to the Moto Guild in San Francisco?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
They're two
different.
I think they were connected
spaces,
at once,
yeah.
but then they
Yeah.
then they split.
Yeah. That's
Hey, John,
awesome.
put that on the list. Let's do our next going to visit shops. Let's go.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
San Jose.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like visiting the Harley dealer there, Cycle Gear, and we can go visit them. That's cool.
Drive
The
shop.
garage.
Yeah.
Do you know what part of San Jose they're in?
Yeah, they're off of 280 and right by downtown. I think it's
Okay.
or it's off of Bird and Aurel Zagius or something like that.
Oh yeah, Ozaray's. Yeah, that's a great,
Yeah.
great, real accessible area.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's right by the Palermo restaurant.
Yep. Excellent.
And then I'll take you to is it King Egg Roll, and we'll get some
Oh,
shrimp
yes.
balls. Shrimp
Yes.
balls.
King
Those are
Egg Roll.
Oh, is that
good.
the place you took me to, Liza?
Yeah, like
That's
they're like
a-
tangerine size balls of shrimp deep fried.
Feast.
Oh,
Yum.
Feast.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Seafood Tower.
You get me with Seafood Tower every time, man. You know my 3 favorite words together: Chinese seafood buffet.
Nice.
Oh my God. This is when I thank everyone out there for listening, sticking with us, especially our Patreon subscribers. We got some new ones this month. So, hey there, welcome. Thank you very much. I'm working on something special. Also, big thanks. I'm showing off the buff that I'm wearing. We had a surprise gift sent with some really nice buffs and a bandana that I don't know who it's from, but it's from Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Emma, what's your joke about Massachusetts?
Oh, no, there's a huge warehouse
Yeah.
with a lot of dentures in it.
I heard about this.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yes. There's a mass of chew sets in there.
Oh boy, that's a dad joke. That's a dad joke.
That's a shout out to Chris Smith at Cleveland Moto.
Right.
Well, I think we're ready to get out of here. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. John, you don't know the routine, so I'm just going to see what happens here, see if you can figure it out.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. This is Liza.
Bagel.
Emma, darling.
And John.
And we're out of here.
Cool.
Cool.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much.